By participating in the governance process, citizens can shape policy decisions and ensure that their voices are heard. Civil engagement also promotes transparency and accountability in government. Despite its importance, lack of interest in civic affairs and disinformation are major challenges that hinders civil engagement. To overcome these challenges, it's essential to create an enabling environment for civil engagement. And to talk this through, joining us for the conversation is the Executive Chairman, Nigerian Capital Development Fund, Hareter Oralusi. Thank you so much for joining us on TVC Breakfast this morning.
Good morning.
So let's start off from the essence of the civil engagement, because some believe that it's actually a driving force for Nigeria's democracy, especially when it comes to the evolution of its democracy. But if you look at the 2020 NSAS protest, how would you say these had gone in shaping or in ensuring that there is civil engagement in governance?
Oh, well, what happened during the NSAS protest wasn't right. That was very wrong. That doesn't encourage civil engagement. To the best of my understanding, the protest was peaceful and it was civil. Now bringing military where there wasn't a threat wasn't a right decision. So I think from the government side, that is not encouraging. In situations like that, I think even if they have a concern, they could have bring in mobile police or police officers who are meant to, whose jobs and responsibilities to maintain peace and order. That was what they needed that day. But, you know, in our society, we still have some old school elements. Their own school of thought is force. And average leader in Nigeria believes that he has to force his way. So that mentality is still ongoing because many of them are still in the government. So you still see things like that. They don't know it in another way. That's the way they understand. That's the way they grow up. That is the school of thought they have. But generally, Nigeria is progressing when it comes to the civil engagement activities. Recently, what is a civil engagement? Civil engagement is a process where citizens get involved in their own development, because government's role is to provide safety net, security for its citizens. So it's very critical that citizens get involved. And that, in some part of the world, is called the fourth leg of governance. You know, right. Yeah. So if we don't promote it, there will be definitely we can't get the best result out of this democratic system we've adopted. And to also promote civil engagement, you also have to promote civil societies that will organize civil engagement. And the major challenge for civil society, particularly in Nigeria, is funding. Yes, when you decide to dedicate your life for people, you know, fighting for your people, making presentation for your people, you also have a livelihood. You also need to be able to pay your rent. Your children need to go to school. Yeah. So how do they get compensation? So many of them, the ones we have to look for grants overseas.
Absolutely.
But for example, look at the Trump's policy where he doesn't want America to spend money in things like that anymore. So that means relying on opportunity available outside Nigeria is not sustainable. So it means that on the side of the government, they must have a policy that will encourage civil society for us to have a proper citizens' engagement in the governance.
Well, it is said that civil engagement is a two-way street. I talk, you listen, you respond, and so on. And it's on different levels, local governments, state governments, federal governments. And we have not, let me not preempt your answer. Let me just ask you this. Would you say we are close to where we should be as far as civil engagement is concerned in Nigeria? And what are these things that are slowing it down, and what would encourage it?
We are not close. We really need to work on it. Because you see, for me, when people say the major crisis they have is money, I also believe, most cases, I believe it's capacity issue, human capacity development. Because even the little resources you have, how do you utilize it? So, and that also now goes back to citizens' ability to know what they really need. Because you can organize civil engagement, civil activities, but what about if people are not saying things they should be saying? What about they don't even know what they need? So it works hand in hand. To be able to have good civil activities, civil engagement, there are certain things that needs to be put in place that will make it structured. People must have capacity to note their need. There must be transparency. There must be accountability. These are factors that needs to be put in place for you to have a successful civil engagement. Okay, I'll give you an example. In other part of the world now, when you want to apply for a job, particularly government contract, it is not only your financial statement or your audited account that is required. It also requires your social values proposition. Meaning that, okay, I'm going to do this road. This road involves this number of community. During the construction of this road, I'm going to employ 50 citizens or 50 members of this local government, this local government, this local government. It means that when the contractor goes there, he must have a meeting with the chiefs, with the community members to know this is what I'm offering you. So they become part of that road construction. And if they choose not to do it, then the citizens can also protest and say, okay, that's where transparency comes in. We saw in the publication that you are going to create 50 jobs. None of our community members has been employed. That's the role of civil engagement. You can see that even in contracting, you could introduce it, which is done in other parts of the world already. You cannot get government contract without, this is not corporate social responsibility. No, that is at your will. This is mandatory. You must have social value proposition that will show that community are involved. I think that happened recently with this Lagos Calabar Road, where there was civil engagement, where the minister that's how it works.
Interesting stuff. So you mentioned the civil society organizations, role in ensuring that there is we have active civil engagements in a country like ours. But the Nigerian government actually recently introduced stricter regulations on NGOs, citing concerns about foreign influence and accountability. And some of the CSOs, they also say that, listen, apart from foreign influence, the issue of terrorism and all of that, some of them are also politically affiliated. So how do we now separate the wheat from the chaff rather, where you have people who are supposed to do it the right way, but they are like mouthpiece for the opposition or even other political parties against the incumbent one?
Well, there are many issues we have in Nigeria, particularly that we believe is peculiar, which is not. Even people like Bill Clinton, who has a Clinton Foundation, was accused of collecting money to represent other foreign nation interests in America. So it's not about Nigeria. That's why there is always room for improvement on a daily basis. When there is a law, there is an order. There must be a clear policy how the operational manual for civil society. And any civil society that did not follow the manual, such a license will be withdrawn. It's as simple as that. We will have this issue, you say this Nigeria, that Nigeria. We're just deceiving ourselves. There are issues all over the world. You know what the Kushner did during first term of Trump. People want to take advantage. It's human. It's not about Nigeria. But we need to have proper guidelines, proper rule of law, operational manual for different sectors. Okay, this is how we operate this. And if you fail to operate this way, then there will be penalty for it. So it's not about us. It's globally that things like that happen. Here, the only thing I know that is very common with Africa is hatred. We hate ourselves so much. We condemn ourselves so much.
Is that due to ethnic division, tribalism,
or
just mere hatred?
Yes, ethnic division. We got this issue through slavery, where two communities, the slave master instigates two communities against each other so that they go into war, and the people, after the war, they buy, the war victims, they buy from them. So I've been involved in one project in Africa where two communities have been fighting for over 200 years, and I came from the United Nations of Vienna, and when we are asked to, mediate and, help them to resolve the issue, conflict resolution, they don't even know why they were fighting. They can't even identify this is the conflict.
They fought so long that they've forgotten the reason.
They've forgotten the reason. Exactly. So those are things that are peculiar in our own case, where because of now it goes to political society, then also sentiment. We have too much sentiment. Where we need to sit down, we have this entitlement, mentality. I feel that everything has to come so cheap, away. Everywhere you struggle. So I'm very happy that I think the new government, the government of Asiwaju, I was told there's a budget for capacity development now for enlightenment and public orientation and enlightenment in 2025. But if that could be well implemented, it will improve civil engagement as well. Because when people have the capacity, they will know what they need, they will know what they want.
Exactly. NOA, National Orientation Agency, has been quite silent. It's just recently, it looks as if they've started, or they found their voice. It is a very good organ for this civil engagement we are talking about. The fact that they have been silent for so long, how has it impacted civil engagement in Nigeria?
No, that has impacted it poorly, very poorly, because they have very serious role to play. I don't even know if the previous government understand the importance of orientation and enlightenment in any society. It's as big as education degree, university degree. Because ability to make a right decision for yourself is very critical.
Yeah.
And if you are not investing in the capacity development of your citizens, you are just wasting your time. That means that you could build a road and put a street light, and one young boy will go and destroy it and go and steal it. Because it doesn't see it other way. It doesn't have any information that it shouldn't do it that way. That is what he understands. If a child is born, in a society where that's what everybody is doing, it takes grace of God to do otherwise.
Yes,
that's right.
You're right.
Well, another challenge is the issue of misinformation. How do you think? Because a whole lot of people, just like you said, some will just want to do things based on their own whims and caprices, maybe because of their sentiments or anything. But how do we, how do you talk to the public, in helping them to discern genuine civil engagement efforts for, from those driven by ulterior motives?
One thing is that you must create a structure for civil engagement to strive.
How does this structure work?
Yes.
Yes. Government must recognize them. Proper recognition. I will give you an example of what is called open government partnerships. That is a group between the government and the civil society. And through that, government is able to provide grants to organize civil activists, civil societies. And those are independent regardless of any government. They are very focused on the role and their interest. All their interest is to support the citizens. So when such institution exists, then they will now be the one to structure, because now you have it at a different level of both local, state, and federal government.
Yeah.
Then you will be able to have a structure. But if you just you're telling somebody that, okay, don't worry, everything will be fine, this is how you should do it, and he's hungry, how will he be able to?
Yeah.
You have to just make sure that you understand, what are the needs of civil society?
That's right.
What can we do to encourage it in our society? How do we, at the end of most of the civil activists, they're eventually going to join political parties. Because at some point, it becomes unrealistic.
Yes.
Because they have to survive.
This one is not paying. So let me go to a more lucrative thing. Now, educate us on the dangers of not encouraging civil engagement by government, by multinational corporations, by the big corporations. What are the dangers of not encouraging civil engagement?
Well, like Riley said, let me quickly go there to the corporate, private institutions. I think this new tax reform accommodates area where private sector could donate some funds into to this NGO, civil societies.
That's right.
And claim that from their annual tax dues, which we encourage civil engagement, civil society, because if you know that you can write to First Bank, this is my proposal, I can defend it, and First Bank believe in your dream, definitely they can provide funding to you, and they can also get incentive for doing that. That's a good step.
Yeah.
These are part of the steps that can. But when you talk about the danger, it is very dangerous. Because that's what we are seeing now.
Round off on your thoughts on the danger because of the time.
Yes, that's what we're seeing now, where there's disconnection. There will always be disconnection between the people and the government. So and yet people, it's not about this government or previous government. This is an accumulated issue. Right. So if there is no proper way, and the civil engagement is the biggest solution that can connect government and the citizen. So if government can think of open government
citizen engagement
partnerships between the civil society and the government, structure and institution, it will solve.
Absolutely. Well, Executive Chairman, Nigerian Capital Development Fund, Hareter Oralusi, thank you so much for that, your keenness of insight of this important, discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.